Have you ever had that one leader that you just couldn't figure out, that you were trying to figure out what made them tick, what made them operate, what made them function, what was the best way to engage with them, and how could you get through to them? How could you get your point across to them? Well, I certainly have been in that situation. So I thought it'd be cool to put together a top 10 list. So I did a top 10 list of why every leader should have a document. Now, when I say a document, this is going to be funny. I want to call it How to Work with Me. So every leader should have something that's a How to Work with Me document. Now, many people jump straight to DISC assessment or to Myers-Briggs. And while those things are great, I think that you need to have a specific document that calls out expectations about how you work with others and what things you prefer. And I'm going to give you 10 reasons why this is so important for every leader to create. Okay? So let's start at the top with number one. Having a document like this is a great tool for self-reflection. So if you're trying to figure out where you can improve, what you can do, what works for me, and it forces you to think about your preferences, habits, and quirks. It forces you to have an opportunity to consider how you show up for your teams and what types of things. Am I clear in my communication? Do I create a psychologically safe space? Is my team willing to provide feedback? When you write this down, it helps you stay accountable and become the leader that you want to be. So right away, having something that's not sugar-coated, radical candor, straightforward, this document means that you're kind of peeling back the onion and revealing yourself to the team. You're giving them something from you that they can count on so that they can engage with you, which I think is incredibly important, right? It's an exercise in vulnerability. And being vulnerable doesn't mean being weak. A lot of times people consider those two to be the same, but it's not true. While it can be intimidating, it's 100% worth it. It's one of those things that when you're transparent about who you are and you can focus on working on fostering a stronger sense of trust with the team and a stronger sense of accountability. Let's go to number two. I call this one clarity for everyone. So one of the biggest benefits of the document is it provides clarity. My team knows exactly what I value, how I like to make decisions, how I prefer to communicate. It reduces ambiguity, prevents small misunderstandings. It gets us all aligned on the same page, and it takes away those big frustrations over time because things don't build up. So if I put details, for example, about my communication preferences, such as how I love working early in the morning, bright and early, but outside of work hours, I prefer not to be disturbed. These are things that should be common sense for many people. But by spelling it out, it sets expectations around things that are important to me and how I make decisions and how I tick. Let's go for number three. This document works especially well and it's especially useful for remote or distributed teams. Let's face it, clear communication is critical for a remote environment, even a hybrid environment. Without the luxury of many in-person meetings, having written documentation about how I operate is truly a lifeline, especially if teams are across time zones, or how about this, across cultures. When you have people working in an organization where they're from different countries, they might behave differently. So you have one group of people who says, okay, this is how we behave and this is how we work because that's our culture and that's how we do things. And then you could be in a totally different culture with a totally different group of people and behave completely differently. The point I'm trying to make here is that this document will help you, instead of trying to figure things out about working style and how you work together and trial and error, it puts everything in writing and says, here's what I do, here's what you can expect, and it makes it clear and easy for everyone else to understand. Okay, let's go to number four. This is a living, breathing document. The beauty of it is you don't need to get it perfect the first time. I can tell you, I created one of these and I've iterated it over years, tweaking it based on feedback I got from my team feedback I get from my wife. I actively encourage my team to let me know if anything's missing or needs to be improved because leadership is a learning process. So if you make this document and don't just look at it once a year in January, but if you haven't looked at it in a while, do look at it and keep it a living, breathing, relevant, up-to-date document because it needs to be. Let's go to number five. Number five, it builds trust and encourages feedback. So the How to Work with Me document is a two-way street. By sharing how I work, I'm encouraging the team to provide their feedback as well. It's an invitation for open dialogue. In turn, it promotes psychological safety, letting my team know, hey, it's okay to share your thoughts, ideas, or concerns. That transparency fosters trust, and that's what it's all about, right? Okay, let's jump to number 6. Reduces friction and conflict. We all know that misunderstandings lead to friction within teams, and friction leads to conflict and miscommunication about deadlines and conflicting working styles. Friction is going to happen. It's inevitable. But if you have this document, many of these issues are addressed before they even arise because expectations are crystal clear. So my document outlines how I appreciate direct communication. I prefer to people challenge my idea rather than just nod in agreement, just to keep things moving and then talk behind the scenes behind my back about what they disliked. This reduces conflict because everyone knows where I stand. It's a great way to signal that constructive disagreement is not only welcome, but it's encouraged. I want people to talk to me. Help me understand. Let's go to number 7. It enables faster decision making. So decision making is a huge part of my role. My teams all know how I approach it because I spelled it out in the document. I make fast decisions. I base them on intuition more than data. But I do use data-backed decisions, and I never focus more than N plus 2 on anything, now plus 2 more. If a decision impacts more than a certain amount of revenue, I want it brought to me. Below that, I trust everybody else to make the call. It's one of those things where if you set these guidelines and you put it in writing, it makes it easier for people to make quick decisions, especially about small initiatives that don't necessarily need to involve me. Let's go to number 8. It improves team alignment. I'm passionate about creating resilient, scalable organizations. My document highlights the principles that guide me towards the goal. Things like honesty, ambition, pragmatism. Sharing this with my team ensures they're all aligned in pursuit of that same purpose. When everyone understands the mission, priorities, and leadership approach, it creates a foundation for collaboration. My team knows that I value results. I like bold thinking. And this sets the tone for how we work together. Okay, let's go to number 9. This document creates accountability. By being explicit about my expectations, I then in turn hold myself accountable as well to those expectations. It's as much a guide for me as it is for the team. It's a reminder to stay consistent in how I lead, how I communicate, how I make decisions. When I've outlined how I operate, the team can call me out if I fall off the horse or if I'm not living up to my own standard. And that's important for building that culture of trust, accountability, and relationships. Okay? Let's go to number 10. It's a reference for iteration. This document is always and will always be a work in progress. I make it clear that nothing in this document is set in stone and that I'll continue to iterate on it as I grow as a person and as the needs of the team and organization evolve. I actively seek feedback from team members to ensure it stays relevant and timely. I want people to engage with me and to understand how to leverage something like this to make the workplace a better place and to make relationships better between us. And I'm confident that if you do these things and if you create one of these documents, that's going to help you be successful in your Agile implementation. That's going to do it for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have a topic you want us to discuss, learn more at AgileDad.com. We'd love to hear from you. And as always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.